Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone. Let me ask you something, and I need you to be brutally honest with yourself. When was the last time you chose yourself without apologizing for it? Not in a selfish way, not in a rebellious way, but in a quiet, sacred, non-negotiable way. When was the last time you sat with your own feelings, not to fix them, not to rush through them, but simply to say, I see you. You matter. I am here. If you can't remember the last time that happened, then stay with me, because the next 30 minutes might just change the way you live the rest of your life. There is a particular kind of exhaustion that women carry into their 60s and 70s. It doesn't show up on a medical chart. No doctor will diagnose it. It is the exhaustion of having poured yourself, all of yourself, into the lives of everyone around you. Your children, your husband, your parents, your friends, your colleagues, your community, and somewhere along the way, somewhere between the school pickups and the holiday dinners and the 3 a.m. worrying, you quietly forgot yourself. Not because you were weak, not because you made the wrong choices, but because you were taught in so many unspoken ways that a good woman puts herself last, that her worth is measured by how much she gives, that rest is selfish, that needing things is a burden. We were taught that love meant self-erasure. And darling, that teaching was wrong. I want you to hear this in your body, not just your mind. You were never meant to disappear into your relationships. You were never meant to earn your worthiness through sacrifice. You arrived on this earth worthy, already, completely, without condition. And every version of you, the young woman who was full of dreams, the mother who was overwhelmed and doing her best, the wife who held so much together, and the woman you are right now, every single version of you deserved to be loved with the same wholehearted grace that you gave so freely to others. Let's talk about time, because I think we've been taught to fear it. We live in a culture that treats a woman's age like a countdown, like something is being taken away, like the years passing are a loss. And every time you look in the mirror and feel a flinch of sadness at what you see, that is not your feeling. That is a cultural lie that was placed inside you so long ago, you forgot it wasn't yours. Here is what I know to be true about women in the second half of life. You know things that cannot be taught. You have survived things that would have broken someone with less grace. You carry wisdom in your body, your intuition, your quiet knowing that no 25-year-old has yet. That is not age, that is power. The spiritual traditions of almost every culture on earth held elders as sacred. They were the keepers of memory, the holders of healing, the ones to whom the community turned when the way was unclear. That is not a role that belongs to the young. It belongs to you. And so when you feel time pressing, when a birthday arrives and you feel a whisper of grief, I want to offer you a different question to ask yourself. Instead of, what am I losing? Ask yourself, what am I becoming? Instead of, how much time do I have left? Ask yourself, what am I called to offer in the time I have? Because here is the sacred truth about time. It is not your enemy, it is the sculptor, and it has been working on you refining you, clarifying you, stripping away everything that was never truly yours, so that what remains is the most authentic, most luminous version of who you are. Time has not diminished you. Time has revealed you. Now, let's talk about love. Not the romantic kind, though we'll get there. I want to start with the love that most of us were never adequately taught. The one that changes everything, self-love, and before you roll your eyes or feel uncomfortable, I understand. We were raised to be humble. We were taught that loving yourself was vanity or selfishness or spiritually suspect. But what if loving yourself was actually the most generous thing you could offer the world? Think about what happens when you love yourself with the same patient, forgiving, and the goofy, wholehearted grace that you've given to everyone else in your life. You stop abandoning yourself when things get hard. You stop apologizing for having needs. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop accepting love that looks nothing like love. And that, my friend, that is when your relationships actually transform. Because you cannot pour from a vessel you have never allowed to fill. You cannot give genuine love to another person when you are running on the fumes of your own self-neglect. The boundaries you set are not walls. They are the architecture of a life that has enough room in it for you. Now, about romantic love and the particular ache that many women in this season of life carry. Some of you are in marriages that have grown quiet. Some of you lost your partner and you carry that grief like a stone in your chest. Some of you are learning, perhaps for the first time, what it means to be loved the right way. And some of you are choosing with enormous clarity to live fully and joyfully alone. All of these are valid. All of these can be beautiful. But here is what I want to say to every one of you, regardless of your situation. You deserve love that does not require you to be less. You deserve love that sees you, not the version of you that performs and pleases and keeps the peace, but the real you, the complicated, layered, sometimes messy, deeply feeling, extraordinary you. And if you have never been loved that way, if no one has ever looked at all of you and said, this is who I want, all of it, then let me say it to you now. That kind of love exists. You are worthy of it. And it begins when you look at yourself that way first. If this is touching something real in you right now, if these words are landing somewhere deep, I want to ask you to do one thing before we continue. Think of one woman in your life, a sister, a friend, a daughter, someone who has been running on empty, someone who has forgotten her own worth. Share this with her, because sometimes the most healing thing we can do for someone we love is simply pass the light along. I want to talk to you about sanctuary, not a physical place, though a beautiful, quiet room of your own is a gift I hope you will give yourself. I am talking about the inner sanctuary, the place inside you that no one can take away, no one can diminish, and no one can enter without your permission. Many of us lived for decades without ever building that inner sanctuary. We were so focused on creating peace and comfort for others that we never learned to cultivate it within ourselves. So let me ask you, where do you go when the world becomes too loud? not physically. Where do you go inside yourself? Building an inner sanctuary is not complicated, but it requires something our culture rarely teaches us to give ourselves. It requires radical permission. Permission to feel what you feel without judgment. Permission to want what you want without explanation. Permission to rest without earning it first. Permission to heal, even things that happened 50 years ago. Permission to begin again at 65, at 70, at any age. Because the season for becoming who you truly are never closes. There is a story I think of often about a woman who's spent the first 60 years of her life being remarkable for everyone else. She was an extraordinary wife, a devoted mother, a tireless caregiver, a loyal friend. Everyone who knew her would have called her a saint. And then in her late 60s, she started painting, something she had abandoned at 22 when the demands of real life came calling. She told her daughter, "I don't know if I'm any good, but I can't not do this anymore." She wasn't reclaiming something lost. She was meeting herself, perhaps for the very first time. She was building the sanctuary she had always deserved. What is yours? What calls to you in the quiet spaces? If you're still enough to hear it, that thing, that longing, that creative pulse, that unfinished becoming is not a distraction from your life. That is your life, asking to be lived. We cannot talk about this season of life without talking about grief, about the things that were done to us, about the relationships that disappointed us, about the dreams that didn't survive contact with reality. Many of us are carrying wounds that are decades old, wounds from childhood, from parents who didn't know how to love us well, wounds from marriages, from years of feeling unseen, wounds from loss of people, of possibilities, of the selves we thought we would become. And for years, perhaps for most of your life, you have been strong. You have kept going. You have pushed through. You have not allowed yourself the grace of falling apart, even for a moment, because there was always something more important to attend to. But here, in this space, I want to give you permission to put that armor down. Healing does not require you to forgive before you're ready. Healing does not require you to make what happened to you okay. Healing does not require you to pretend that the pain wasn't real. What healing does require is the willingness to stop letting the wound have the final word about who you are. The things that broke your heart did not define you, but they did shape you. And there is a difference. Defined means it has the final word. Shaped means it was part of the story, but not the whole story, not the ending. You are not the sum of your wounds. You are the woman who survived them with all the depth, compassion, and hard-won wisdom that survival carves into a soul. And one more thing I need to say about healing, because it is the part we rarely talk about. It is never too late. I have worked with women in their 70s who, for the first time, finally cried the tears they had been holding since they were 7 years old. And in that release, that sacred, overdue release, something in them came alive that had been asleep for decades. Healing is not a young person's privilege. It belongs to every woman at every age who is willing to say, I deserve to feel whole. I choose that for myself. Starting now, I want to spend some time here in this part of our conversation talking about self-worth, because I believe it is the root of everything else we have been discussing. Self-worth is not self-esteem. Self-esteem fluctuates. It goes up when we succeed and down when we fail. But self-worth, true, grounded self-worth, is unconditional. It says, I have value simply because I exist, not because of what I produce or what I look like or whether I am needed, simply because I am here. We live in a world that does everything it can to make women feel that their worth is external, that it lives in their appearance, their usefulness, their productivity, their relationships, that when those things fade or change, their value diminishes too. And I am here to tell you, with everything I understand about the human heart, that is one of the most destructive lies ever told. Your worth does not live in your body, and so it cannot age. Your worth does not live in your role, and so it cannot retire. Your worth does not live in someone else's opinion of you, and so it cannot be taken. There is something extraordinary about the lines on your face. Each one is a story. Each one is evidence of having truly lived, of having laughed until you couldn't breathe, of having weathered something that cost you something, of having loved so deeply it left a mark. Those lines are not flaws. They are the most honest thing about you. So let me offer you a practice. A simple, powerful practice that has the capacity to genuinely transform your relationship with yourself. Every morning, before the day takes over, put your hand over your heart and say to yourself, out loud or silently, these words, I am enough. I have always been enough. Everything I need to begin again is already inside me. It will feel awkward at first. It may even feel untrue. That is fine. Say it anyway. Because the truth doesn't always feel true until we practice receiving it. You have spent decades pouring your worth into what you do for others. I am asking you to practice finding it in who you simply are. I want to close our time together by talking about possibility, because I am deeply aware that some of you came to this video carrying a quiet despair. Perhaps you've been feeling that the best chapters are behind you, that it's too late for certain things, that the window for joy, for adventure, for love, for becoming has somehow closed. I want to look at you directly and tell you it has not. Some of the most alive, most purposeful, most deeply joyful women I have ever known found their truest selves after 60, not despite the years, because of them. Because at a certain point in life, if you are willing, you get to stop performing. You get to stop trying to be everything to everyone. You get to stop shrinking. And in that spaciousness, something extraordinary becomes possible. You get to be real. What would your life look like if you spent the next 10 years being fiercely, unapologetically committed to your own becoming? What would you learn? What would you go? What would you create? Who would you become? Who would you become? Who would you love? What would you finally, blessedly let go of? The rest of your life is not a diminishment of who you were. It is the part where you finally get to be who you always were without apology. That, my love, is not an ending. That is a homecoming. Before you go, I want to ask one thing of you. Think of one woman in your life, a sister, a friend, a daughter, who needs to hear that she is worthy, who needs to be reminded that her time has not passed, that she is not too much or too little, that she deserves a love that sees all of her. Share this video with her, because sometimes the bravest thing we can do for someone we love is simply say, I see you, and I wanted you to know you matter. Close your eyes if you will. May you know in the marrow of your bones that you are worthy of every good thing. May the years ahead be filled with more light than you thought possible. Not because life will be perfect, but because you will be present for it. May you forgive yourself for the years you spent believing you were not enough. And may you receive gently, finally, the truth that you always were. May you build within yourself a sanctuary so deep and so quiet that no storm in the world outside can shake the peace within. And may you walk forward from this moment, choosing yourself, not last, not reluctantly, but with the same wholehearted grace you have given so freely to everyone you have ever loved. You are worthy, you are wise, you are home.